Hey!
Hello!
Season 10!
We're back! We're back! I've been so excited to record. I missed it.
I know, so did I.
We took a little breaky break and I was sad. So, I know.
Hey, book besties, welcome back to season 2. We are here.
I'm so excited. We've got so many things that we're excited about.
I know.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah. Sorry we were gone for a little bit, but we hope that you picked up a book.
Yeah.
While
we were gone. I know for a fact that some people that listen to the pod picked up a book. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Shout out to you know who you are. If you picked up a book and also probably read sequels to some books.
Yeah.
So, which we'll get into because I also read that sequel.
We
both did.
Yeah. Couldn't wait.
So shout out to the homies that read some books because of the podcast.
I know. Pretty
amazing.
Freaking cool.
Yeah.
So Sophia and I went to meet the queen, Rebecca Ross. She is the author of Divine Rivals and recently out Ruthless Vows, which is the second book, end of the series.
Yep.
It's a duology, so that only means there's 2 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to just talk about it because it was literally the highlight of our year so far.
Yeah.
And it's only January.
It was at the beginning of January, and it was like the best way to start out the year.
Yeah.
It was so amazing. I have not stopped thinking about it. I just feel like I have so many great memories from that night. It feels like the first like kind of official event that you and I did as like a podcast duo.
Yeah.
And just being able to like celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like in kind of a funny way. It was also on the day that season 1 ended. So it was also kind of like a celebration in that sense.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a great day. We have a lot of fun things to get into.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We I was looking at our ticket and it said purchase November 16th and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like we waited a month and a half to see her.
Yeah.
I had honestly been counting down the days.
Dude, it was in my calendar as like very important, like very, very important.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I will say it made me think about the fact that you and I almost went to the Iron Flame trivia night or the Fourth Wing trivia night.
Oh, yeah.
Long time ago. And it just didn't work out. I was feeling not great. I don't think you were feeling great. And so we didn't end up going. And this was pre-podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. I was thinking back to that and I was like, there's no way I'm missing this one. Like there's absolutely no way. And also I will say, I think like we needed to be really on top of it because tickets sell out really fast.
I think it sold out in a day.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe a few hours.
We definitely caught it like as soon as it came out.
Yeah.
And I remember texting and being like, get your ticket. I'm getting my ticket. Like we gotta go, you know.
It was only $25.14.
Which came with the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition.
Yeah.
Basically what I think it was that we paid for the book plus like maybe an extra $5 to reserve a seat.
That's not bad. So, guys, this event happened at Barnes & Noble Union Square, which is downtown Manhattan, and I think it's the biggest Barnes & Noble in the U.S.
Yeah, from what I understand, and I love, by the way, seeing people on Book Talk post videos being like, I'm going to the biggest Barnes & Noble in the U.S. It makes my heart so happy because, like, that's my Barnes. Like, I think you normally go to a different one as, like, your regular
Yeah, I go
Barnes.
to the one in Upper West Side.
Right. But because I work down and I went to school down in that area, that before I even was really even back into books, like, if I needed to go to Barnes, that was the one I went to.
Oh, okay.
And I love seeing people just get so excited about going to that Barnes.
Aww.
And it just makes my heart so happy because I'm like, oh, that's my Barnes. Like,
well, I
love
think
it.
it's a really nice area too, because
super
like
nice.
Strand is
right around the corner.
Yeah,
it's like 2.5 streets down or something like that. So it's a great like book area. There's also a used bookstore. I think it's called Alabaster Books or something like that. And it's right around the corner from Strand. So it's all kind of located. Like if you are looking for a book trip to New York, like that central area, you got to hit those spots, you know. Right. It's a great little, you know, you got to hit them all, you know, but it's so fun.
Well, I got there around, so the event started at 6. I got there around 4:25 and then I got distracted by books. And then Sophia's like, okay, you need to get in line. And I was like, oh, right. Yeah. So there were probably 30 people ahead of it. Again, started at 6. Yeah. I got there at 4:20, probably started getting in line at like 4:40 because again, I got distracted. Yeah. And it was like, I was actually shocked that people were already in line. So they must have, like the first few people were probably there at 4.
Wow.
Which,
that's commitment.
I know.
Wow. I was still at work And I love my boss. She was like, yeah, you can go out a little early. Like, no worries. Like, we'll figure it out. So God bless her. And I was still a little stressed though, because I was, again, you had texted me saying, hey, there's already people in line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 5 or 4:30ish. Right.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm going to have to run. Like, I got to get there. But you were able to save me a seat, which was amazing. I was nervous about that. My biggest thing that I was stressing about was that they would make you give up the seat you saved.
I know.
Because as long as you had a seat saved for me, I was fine. I was like, oh, I'm getting in. Like, it's totally fine. But my whole way there, I was like, please, Lord, like, let her be able to save that seat. Like, because I knew you had also gotten a pretty good seat.
Right.
And of course we wanted to sit together. So I didn't want to have to make you move back or anything. But I made it and it was fine. Yeah. And once I was in line, like, it was a long line, but it was moving pretty efficiently. Yeah. They definitely had it very organized.
Yeah. You were talking about how you've seen, you haven't been to an event there, but you've seen it
So I was shopping, first of all, just for context, it's a 4-story Barnes & Noble. Yeah. And the 4th floor is where they have the fantasy and sci-fi, and of course those are like the books that I'm really into right now. So when I've been actively shopping for books, I go up to that floor. And I was up there one night, probably around 5. Like, I'm trying to, thinking back on it. And they started ushering out people, because there was a line. There was a line already there, probably around 4:30. And I was like, oh, there's an event, whatever. Like, I'm not here for the event. I'm just looking for books. And they started, like, the security guard started ushering out people, saying, like, go to the 3rd floor or lower. There's an event that's going to be starting soon, and we just need those people on the floor. And I was like, oh, okay, like, that's fine. Come to find out, it was actually Kevin Jonas and his wife.
What?
Yeah, because they were doing their book that they wrote. So maybe they were ushering us out just because he's more celebrity status. Yeah. But I don't know if that's a normal thing for them or whatever.
Wait, you said Kevin?
Yeah. My favorite.
I know. I actually, I'm loving Kevin. But when did he write a book?
I don't know. I think it was actually mostly his wife's book. But of course he's there to support. We love cute. It. But I mean, who knows if it was just because he's a little bit more celebrity, and so they only wanted people that paid for it. Well, it seems
like all the big authors / events happen at this Barnes & Noble.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like you see authors go on book tours. But really they always seem to hit that Barnes. It just seems to be especially in New York. Like, if they're doing a book tour, that's where they're going to hit. Yeah. Like, sometimes Strand has events with authors, but then I look and I'm like, oh, they're also going to Barnes. Like, they're doing both.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
It's like, but I think majority authors would go to that Barnes first.
I see.
Versus like Strand first, for example. But yeah, anyways, it was a really funny experience to be, like, kicked out of that floor, because I was like, I was actively book shopping, like, man, let me stay up here, Yeah. But it was fine. It was not a big deal. But yeah, that was like my experience as being like a member of an event, just kind of actively at Barnes & Noble. But yeah, this time obviously we paid for the ticket. We got to be in line. Yeah, got to feel special.
Yeah, it was really cool. Most of the audience that came were probably between 18 to 35. Yeah. And there were some folks that like cosplayed as Kit and Iris. Yeah, I always call him Kit. I never call him Roman.
I know. So it's funny. It's like it's very split in the book. In the books, how like they, it's Winnow and Kit, or it's Iris and Roman. Yeah. So I feel like I think of them kind of either way.
Yeah. So during the conversation, it was Chloe Gong, who is. We've talked about her before. She's a young author. She wrote These Violent Delights. She was interviewing Rebecca Ross. Yeah. What were your first impressions of Rebecca Ross during that first part?
Well, she seemed really sweet right off the bat. Yeah. Which, like, I think we knew that. We were like, oh, she seems like such a sweetheart. I feel like their conversation was like, they only had about 30 minutes of conversation.
It might have been shorter.
Or shorter than that before they opened it up to audience questions, which we'll get into. But it seemed like a genuine, like, they were vibing. Like, it seemed like they were connecting. Yeah. I really liked that Rebecca would kind of throw some questions back at Chloe. Yeah. And was like, oh, well, how do you feel about this? Or, like, what's your writing style when it comes to that? Or, like, I kind of felt like she was very generous and not just keeping it all to herself. Like there was, I think Chloe talked a little bit about like world building, like as one of her own questions.
Right.
And I feel like Rebecca kind of tossed it back to her, which was really nice. Yeah. So it felt like a very genuine conversation. Of course we have like the iconic section where Chloe asked, if you were to give your characters zodiac signs, yes, what would they be? And it was iconic.
Rebecca really, first of all, wait, let's give some context.
Yeah.
Rebecca Ross, if you read her acknowledgments, I'm assuming 99% right about this, that she's a Christian.
Yeah.
She always gives glory to God, which is amazing.
And side note, it's not just I want to thank God. She uses Heavenly Father. She, like, as a Christian, I think it's a beautiful thing when people aren't just like, oh, I thank God, because it's a little bit more general that way. And she makes it very clear, again, like at least to what we can understand, that it seems very clear that she's thanking like the Lord, she's thanking Jesus, like she's thanking our Heavenly Father, and so it seems way more specific, and like she really wants us to know, like it seems like she really is like a follower of Christ, which is really encouraging to see.
Well, so because she is, just generally, Christians tend, if we talk about personality tests, we don't tend to go toward like the star signs and stuff like that. We kind of go for the Enneagram. So if you guys don't know about the Enneagram, there's 9 different personality types. Take the test. I'll get into it in a second. But basically when Chloe asked her, like, if you could assign Iris and Roman a star sign, what would it be? And everyone was like, oh my God, yeah. And she was like, you know, I don't really know anything about it. Didn't you say, like, you guys are going to have to
educate me on this? Yeah. Something really cute like that.
She was really funny, but she was like, I'm more into the Enneagram, and me and Sophia and maybe 2 other girls out of like maybe 150 people. Like we just freaking out.
Yeah, we like, and I think you and I both like raised our hands. We're like cheering. She definitely saw us. I think we literally, I kind of think I made eye contact with her. I'm pretty sure I made eye contact with her, which was hilarious. So funny, because I like, again, it was like maybe 4 of us, like you and me and maybe just a couple other people that were like, we know what you're talking about, like this is amazing. It felt like a very personal, like, if you know, a little nod, moment, right. It was great.
She basically was talking about that she is a 4 Enneagram, which is called the creative, and creative, romantic, which I thought was really interesting. And so she was like, if you're a writer, or if you're very artistic, you're usually a 4. And she was like, I'd be really interested if you're not a 4 and you're a writer. Right. So Kaitlin went home and I retook the Enneagram. Now, I've been a 3-wing 2, which is the achiever. Like, always kind of want to go up. I have planners. I have this and that. Whatever. I retook it, and I am definitely a 4, wing 5. Okay. I think. And I was looking through like, you know, the desires and the fears, and I went all the way down to jobs, and it said author, and I went, ha.
You were like, yep.
Yeah. So it was interesting because Rebecca Ross was talking about how when she has a character, she categorizes them by Enneagram type, which I thought was really cute. Yeah.
I need to retake it. I haven't gotten the chance since Wednesday night when we saw her, but I thought at first, I remember taking the test back in undergrad, so it's been several years, and I'm pretty sure at first I got a 9, which is the peacemaker or something like that. And I at first was like, oh, I'm totally the peacemaker, and then I thought over like how I definitely react to certain situations. I was like, I don't think I'm a peacemaker. Let's just be honest, like, you know, if you know. And I took it again, and I'm trying to think back, but I'm pretty sure I got a 4-wing something. Like, I don't remember. Okay. I do really want to retake it, so hopefully I get to that in the next couple days. But I'm pretty convinced that I am a 4, and especially with it being just the creative, like right off the bat, I feel like you and I are very similar, and just we're very creative people. So I would be surprised, honestly, if I'm not a 4. I know for a fact I'm not a 2. Like, that's definitely the one that I know for sure. Definitely not. Hilarious. But I need to go back and take it. But I love that you are a 4-wing 5.
Oh, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, I took notes when she was talking about it. So apparently Roman Kit is a 3-wing 4. So he is an achiever. and then Iris is a 4-wing 3. So they're pretty close together. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I just thought it was so cute how she was very respectful of it, but you could tell that she was just like, I don't know much about zodiac signs.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. I feel like the general reaction from people was like, oh, that's fine. Like, that's fine that you don't know. Nobody seemed to be like, how dare you? You know, which was really cute.
Sophia, you have to tell them about the question you asked.
Yeah. So I had a question in my mind, and I was like, I'm going to raise my hand when they do audience questions. I know what I want to ask. And I had it phrased a certain way in my mind, which was going to be which of your... Let me just say what the question was off the bat.
Yeah.
So Rebecca Ross has standalone books and duologies. That's it. She's never done series longer than that, which I think is really smart. I think we've talked about in the past how we love when an author knows when to wrap up a story.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something Rebecca's really good at. She knows when her story's done. And so all that to say, I wanted to ask your different books, your different series and standalones, they have vastly different magic systems, worlds. None of them are similar to each other. They're all different. And I wanted to ask, which one is your favorite? And I ran that question past my friend Ainsley, and she kind of helped me redirect the question to be, which one was your favorite to create? So shout out Ainsley for that, because we were talking, we were kind of ranting, and she was like, well, I feel like, and I kind of came to this conclusion too, which is she might just say, oh, all of them. Because it kind of feels like a child where it's like, you know, a mom is not going to be like, oh, this child's my favorite. And so I was kind of able to rephrase that. And so I ended up asking, which was your favorite to create? And Rebecca took the question and kind of interpreted it as what world she would want to live in. And I love that she did that. I don't know. I've watched the video back because you were recording.
Yeah.
And I watched the video back, and I realized that she answered my question but used the phrasing of, I would want to live in the world of. And she talked about A River Enchanted, which is the Elements of Cadence duology. Yeah. So I know you guys might be tired of hearing us talk about it, but we're going to keep talking about it till y'all read this book, like the series.
Sophia, this morning, I was like, this is a 6-star.
I think it's hit that for me too.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking
about
it. There we go. Book besties for real.
We were so in sync on that right now. I think you can tell that this series has like changed our lives. Let's be honest.
It really has.
And
I might do a reread soon.
I think I might.
Not too soon, but I don't care because I miss them.
Me too.
I know.
Me too.
I've been thinking about Sidra a lot and Torin.
I think I am more of an Adara girl, but I do love Sidra. Like, I do love her.
So, hold on. Yeah. Now that we're on River Enchanted real quick. I'm thinking, is Adara 21?
I think so. I think they're the same age because
they
were
grew up
both
together.
11 when that whole like little fight happened and the like the little field or whatever where she pushed him into like the thistles and then he had nightmares and that was the whole thing, which was very cute when you think back on it. Which, by the way, I've described their relationship to people as frenemies to lovers in the sense that they were friends as kids, but also like the enemy type of friends, which I had a couple of friends growing up where it was like, we're enemies, you know? And so I think it's funny that's the way I describe it, where it's not childhood friends to lovers, it's like childhood frenemies to lovers, which is really kind of a cute twist on that.
So they're maybe 20, they're 21.
They're 20 or 21.
20 or 21. Yeah. So then Sidra and Torin, the other couple, they
a little bit older,
I think in their late 20s.
Yeah, because Torin is her older cousin. Sidra might be younger because remember, Torin was married previously.
Yeah.
And these aren't really spoilers, guys. It's more just like the plot of the characters. Like this isn't giving anything away. But he, I think, is a little bit older than Sidra, but not by much. If anything, she's probably her mid-20s from what I gather.
Okay. I feel like I identify with Sidra and Torin more, probably because of age, of like they're closer to me.
I'll just say this, and this is something I got to tell Rebecca when we were doing the book signing. Yeah. And she gave each of us literally like a minute each just really to talk to people, and which of course made the line on the longer end, but you and I were kind of in the halfway point of the line, which was great. But she really gave every single person her attention in that moment, which I absolutely loved. I've only ever met one other creative person, which was Christy Altamar, who was on Broadway, and when she did Stage Door, she gave every single person like her fullest attention. And so all that to say, I love that when somebody who doesn't have to respond like that to individual people, she did, you know. But just backing up with, I think, identifying with the characters in A River Enchanted, I think that I identify more with Adara, but Jack's story is very special to me.
Yeah.
And it could just simply be because he's a harpist, I'm a harpist. I loved how he like went to the mainland and
studied.
Kind of had this whole studious like 4 years of college in a sense.
Yeah.
And not that I can necessarily relate to the idea of like him coming home, but I can relate to the idea of him feeling like when he came home, like he found a home. Does that make sense? Because really it seemed like his first 15 years that he lived, you know, on the island, he didn't feel like he was at home. Because he was, you know, like nobody liked him. He was kind of shunned as a kid. And so all to say, I think I relate to Jack in certain ways, but I really connect with Adara, and it's just something about her. But also I am a little bit younger than you, so could also be that.
Well, you know, someone dressed up as Adara.
Yes, it was so
really
beautiful.
Cute. It was
cute. A beautiful cosplay. It was, and then I loved though all the people that did dress up as Roman and Iris. I almost said Roman and Kit. See, this is what I'm saying. I in my mind, I you know, I love that they're called by their first and their last name, but it definitely messes with my brain a little bit.
Something that happened at the event was we couldn't really chat about the second book. So Rebecca asked, how many of you have already read Ruthless Vows? Mm-hmm. And I would probably say half.
Yeah,
half raised their hands. Mm-hmm. I read it in a day.
It took me a little bit longer, but just because that was personal circumstances.
Yeah.
But yeah, you read it really
I
fast.
read it real quick. And if you guys have not read it yet, there might be spoilers, but not a ton. Yeah. I'm not really going to tell you guys what really happens, but basically Ruthless Vows picks up two or 3 weeks right after book one. So there's not a lot of time. So if you want to binge all of it, there you go.
Yeah, you can easily read both in a row.
Like, so we couldn't, because half of the audience did not read Ruthless Vows yet, we couldn't really ask questions about how the story ended or how it went. So I was like, dang, we can't really talk about it. So more people were talking about Divine Rivals or her writing style, where she gets her inspiration from. It was really cool. She said that she gets her inspiration from other book characters. She was saying that.
Well, she kind of threw it back because there was another question about who are your classical author inspirations, and so she talked about Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre, so Mr. Rochester and Jane. Right. She talked about Jane Austen, who she was inspired by, like Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth. And I thought that was really cool. But then she also threw in a little bit of a fun twist, which was that it was partially inspired by Hermione. Which, for those who don't know, is a fan relationship. I don't know. How would you explain a ship, by the way? Shipping somebody. Like, you want two characters
support them. You're a fan of them.
Yeah, you want two characters to be together.
Yeah.
Whether they are actually in the book or the movie, or they just imagine.
Yeah.
Or they just imagine them to be together. So there are a lot of people out there that want Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger from Harry Potter to be together. So it's definitely, I think she definitely was kind of giving everybody what they wanted. But it was funny that she was like, oh, they're partially inspired.
It was funny when she said that because I was like really trying to like pull from what I know about Hermione, and I'm like,
I think I think the only inspiration there is just the idea of rivals to lovers.
Oh, I see.
And that would be my only connection. But it was funny because literally so many people in the audience started cheering and like straight up like whooping like for it. Like everybody was like, yeah.
Right. Well, guys, the thing about Rebecca Ross too that she mentioned was that this like Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows duology, it is the very first time she was more heavy on the romance than she was on the fantasy. And I thought that was very, very interesting. Because she did a great job. Yeah. She did a really wonderful job. But personally, I like to read more plot-driven. Like, is there a journey? Is there a quest they're going on? Right. And then is there a subplot of romance? That's what I like. Because then, like, you know, I mean, that's just me. But I think she did a great job still.
Oh, yeah.
with
I agree. I think that when you read her other books, and I've read some of her other backlist as well, her other books are more plot heavy romance.
Yes.
And for example, Dreams Lie Beneath and Sisters of Sword and Song, the romance is like subplot. Okay. For both. And I kind of love that.
Yeah.
And so again, with elements of cadence, with that duology, the romance is definitely there, and it gets a little bit heavier, but it's also a very heavy part of the plot. Like, I feel like it's not just romance, but the romance is important because, you know, of such things. Like, Sidra and Torrhen's relationship, they get so much, like, their relationship grows so much deeper, but it's because of things that happen in the plot.
Yes, right.
Same with Jack and Adara. When she leaves, which is, like, not really spoiler, I'll just say that, they grow closer together, but it had to, does that kind of make sense? Which versus Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, where it did feel like the romance was pushing the plot versus the plot pushing the romance.
Right.
And so it was just a different approach. Yeah. For sure.
Well, overall, what were your thoughts about Ruthless Vows?
I liked it. I did like it a lot. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
I think I finished reading it, though, wanting more. And that could be just because I did not get the feeling that I had when I read the Elements of Cadence duology. And so I was left with a little bit of an unsatisfied feeling. Still an amazing book. And I did love that in her interview, Rebecca said, I probably wouldn't change a thing. Like, she's clearly very happy with the book. And I just think that if I had only ever read Divine Rivals, like if that was my first book of hers and never read anything else, I think I would have really loved it. I just think that I can compare it to her other books that I love so much more. And I'm like, oh, I want that feeling again. And I just didn't quite get it. And there were definitely some things that I had questions about in terms of like the world building, and I didn't get the answers to. Right. So I left the book with a good conclusion. But I also, here's the other thing. I had an ending in mind that I wanted to happen.
I did too.
And it didn't happen. And I've done that with so many series where I come up with an ending and I'm like, this would be an amazing ending. And then I get to the end and it's not that. And I get mad because I'm like, Sophia, why did you theorize? Why did you do that? Because then you kind of ruined what the actual ending was. But I don't do it on purpose. It's just that I'm reading through and I'm like, oh, you know what? That would be so cool. Yeah. So the ending that I personally came up with didn't happen.
Do you have a rating yet?
I think I'm just landing on a solid 4 stars.
Okay.
Because genuinely, again, I don't think I can rate Rebecca's books lower than 4. Like in my heart, I'm like, no, I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like I still love the book, and the writing style was gorgeous, and I did overall. She's incredible. I love those characters. I love Addie and Tobias. Like I love the new characters she brought in. So there was a lot of things that I really loved about the book. Yeah. It was not my favorite of hers, and that's totally okay. Yeah. So I'm landing on a 4 stars. Pretty solid. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
What about you though? Because I feel like we're similar. I feel like we're pretty similar in our thoughts. But
I think the duology as a whole, I would give it 5 stars. Because I realized when Rebecca was talking, she is such a character-driven author. Yeah. So she wants you to get like attached to the people, and so like I keep thinking about Iris, and I'm thinking about Roman, and just kind of like how I think about like Sidra and Torrhen and like all these other characters she's written. And so I would probably say, you know, I read Ruthless Vows in about a day. Couldn't put it down, but also I did also feel like I wanted a little bit more, or I wanted more twists. Not saying that she didn't give it, but I think it would have been cooler. Not cooler. I don't want to say that. I think it would have been more heart-wrenching. I wanted maybe like more bittersweet.
Tear my heart out a little bit more.
Just tear it out.
You can mess with me. Yeah. I can go to therapy again. Yeah, it's fine.
Right. It's fine. It's fine. So I would give Ruthless Vows, I'm leaning toward like a 4.5 or 4.75. Cool. Yeah. But overall, the duology is a 5. And I think I want to read it again because I was telling Sophia, and she also talked about this, how her audiobooks, she actually did auditions for Divine Rivals and those same people.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So she has a girl and a guy reading for Iris and Roman.
Or Kit.
Or Kit, whatever his name is.
Or C.
Yeah, because his middle name's Carver. Anywho. So I actually did not physically read all of Divine Rivals. I listened to it on audio. I could not stop. I loved it. And then the last quarter of the book, I picked it up on Kindle Unlimited. And so I was like, I'm just going to physically read this one.
Right.
So I think she did a great job with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, I really, really loved it. I think, unfortunately, my rating's also a little bit hindered because I read it in such small chunks, which I don't want to give the book the blame, but it did break up my reading experience to the point where I would be reading and I was like, what just happened in the last chapter? Which is not, I usually, when I sit down to read a book, I can usually finish a book in 3 or 4 sittings, depending on, because my commutes, I think I've talked about this, my commutes are a good 40 minutes. So that's a heavy chunk right there, or whatever. And I was picking up this book for 10 minutes and having to put it down, it was just the circumstances. And I think even if I had read it in 2 chunks, for example, I think it'd still be a 4 stars, which is why I'm pretty set with that. And it could change. If I read it again, it could definitely bump up. But I just feel like maybe, I can't tell if that changed the experience or not. I don't want to say it did. Possibly, which is, like I said, I'm landing on a 4 stars. But to be honest with you, my ratings are very flexible. I find myself looking back on books and be like, you know what? That's actually a 5 stars. Or looking at another book that I rated 4.5 and realizing, you know what? I haven't thought about that book at all. It might be a 4.25 or a 4 star. Once I set a rating on a book, it's not set in stone.
Yeah. I think that wraps up
what a fun
episode
event.
1, season 2.
Yeah. What a fun event.
Yeah, we're definitely going to go to more of this. You know what? I was thinking we definitely need to go see Emily Henry when Funny Story comes out.
If she is touring,
I sure hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I'll just mention this really quickly because this will be in a few weeks for me. And I'm really sad that you can't come. But I am going with my roommate to a midnight release of Crescent City 3, which if you've been following the podcast, you know that I'm literally cannot wait for this book to come out. But here's what's funny. My roommate and I both pre-ordered the book months ago. In September.
Wow.
But the midnight release comes with the Barnes & Noble edition of the book. So we're going to each have 2 copies of the book.
Wait, is it a Barnes & Noble event?
Yeah. It's at but here's the thing. So Sarah's not going to be there.
Sarah.
But I'm going to keep a slight sliver of hope that maybe she'll just pop by.
Wouldn't that be wild?
So that's why I was talking to my roommate and I was like, we're going no matter what. First of all, just for fun.
Might be a surprise.
But what if she does? What if she just shows up? Because she showed up at Strand randomly one day. Right. And I'm like, I think I texted you this. I think I said something along the lines of she's like a wisp on the wind. Miss Sarah just pops up whenever she wants. So I'm not going to get my hopes up. But how fun would it be?
That would be really wild.
And I really wish you could come, but there is going to be so many spoilers for everything.
I was standing in line for Ruthless Vows, and these 2 girls behind me were talking about the end of Heir of Fire. And I was like, I can't. I had to call my husband because I was like, talk to me about something. Because I'm in the middle of reading
I felt so bad.
Fire.
You told me that. And I was like, oh gosh. It's painful when you're on the when you're not quite there yet.
I'm not there.
And you will be. And I feel really bad because I would love to go with you, but it's also I'll keep you guys updated. Cannot, I do not want anything to be spoiled for you.
It will all be spoiled for me because that'll be her most recent release, and so many things have come out.
But there'll be things that you won't understand.
I know.
Are spoilers. So you'll be fine, I think. Anyways, I'm very excited for that. Yes. But it's also one of the book events that we won't do together.
I know.
But I'm excited.
There's a lot of cool releases coming out anyway, so we'll probably go to more. But
absolutely.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Excited for this season.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.